Referring to you now, concept of registration procedure under the GST with all latest amended provisions which is applicable for your forthcoming exam of November or December as the case may be, my dear friends. Here I am presenting in a simplified manner, step by step, step 1, step 2, like that. We have the order wise how to apply for the want of registration and obtain the registration. In this process, registration procedure under the GST, you being an applicant, first and foremost, apply for the want of registration through GST network portal. By making the application form GST REG01, form GST REG01, application for registration under the GST. If the need arises to go for registration, within 30 days from the date of need arises, you have to apply for the want of registration. Further referring to here, my dear friends, if in the case where voluntarily applying for the want of registration, in that case, you are most welcome to apply for the want of registration voluntarily where there is no need arises. So, as an applicant, he may apply for the want of registration where the need arises to go for registration, namely mandatory registration taken place, or otherwise particular applicant can apply for the want of registration voluntarily also, as the case may be. Or a person who is liable to pay GST under RCM, so far his aggregate turnover not exceeded the threshold limit for registration, but because of the reverse charge mechanism, the recipient liable to pay GST irrespective of the turnover. In such case, such recipient should also apply for the want of registration, same form GST REG01. Now, once you apply form GST REG01 by giving your information, part A, part B. Now, need of providing mobile number, need of providing email ID not warranted is an amended provision, my dear friends. Reason, anyhow you have to be provide your PAN number in the form GST REG01 along with your name or your business name. Using your name and business name, you have to give your PAN number. PAN number where in the income tax department you might have been given your registered mobile number as well as your registered mail ID. So when you upload the PAN number in part A of GST REG01, the PAN number along with that what mobile number as well as the mail ID you given to income tax department, same is here whole good to authenticate your registered mobile number through a particular OTP. Same mobile number should be considered here also. Here under GST law, not required to submit now separately a mobile number as well as email ID. What is given for income tax for obtaining the PAN number, same whole good here. Through that particular mobile number only OTP authentication takes place. I applied through GST network portal form GST REG01. Department, namely the network portal, where as aware of that non-statutory function means without involvement of the department officer, the network portal itself, system software itself will cross check whether your PAN number is correct, the name is correct, and by giving the OTP to your registered mobile number which you given to the Department of Income Tax while opting the PAN number, authentication taken place, prima facie the information is correct or not, system will check without involvement of department officer. Such a verification carried out by the system software in the GST network portal we used to call it as non-statutory function. If it is satisfied, the system software will issue one acknowledgement as if you submitted the form GST REG 01, for which acknowledgement form GST REG 02 will be issued by the system software of the GST network portal. So in the given case, my dear friends, GST department in that network portal is issuing to you acknowledgement as step 2. Step 1, application for registration. Step 2, here is acknowledgement for submission of the GST REG 01 as an acknowledgement which is in the form of form GST REG 02. Now department officer will verify your application for registration. To grant the certificate of registration, the matter will be pop up. The system software will show your application to concerned department officer. Department officer verifying your application for the want of registration. What you have been enclosed as a documentary evidences as your place of business. To a place of business, for example, you have been submitted carrying out the place of your business in the state of Tamil Nadu in Chennai. You have given your place of business where you are carrying out that place of business on rental basis. Rental deed you might have been enclosed. When the rental deed is enclosed, department got doubt. Rental deed, Mr. A, owner of the property. Mr. B is the applicant for the want of registration. Rental deed agreement between the owner of the property and Mr. B. Now, rental deed alone not sufficient to establish Mr. A is the owner of the property, where he taken on rental basis to carry out the business. They will ask, hey Mr. Applicant, your rental deed not accompanied supporting document, give the property tax payment details, where the property tax paid for the given property is in the name of Mr. A only, who is the owner of the property. They want to cross verify, which you not submitted. So department notice while verifying your application for the want of registration. Department, if found any deficiency, namely any type of deficiency in the application, that means they have found some defects. They identified certain defects in the application for the want of registration. If it is yes, then the step 4 comes into picture after step 3. Step 3, verification and finding any deficiencies identified and informing to that particular concerned person who want registration. So step 4, proper officer will issue show cause notice in the form GST REG 03 within 7 working days from the date of submission of the application for registration. Because in the given example, what I said to you, Mr. B is an applicant for the want of registration who given the rental deed agreement where he has been executed along with his owner of the property, namely Mr. A, in whose premises Mr. B is carrying out the business as a tenant. In that case, Mr. B is the owner of the property. What is the proof of document which is not enclosed? Therefore, department issues show cause notice saying that, hey Mr. B, you want application for registration, we will grant, but your application for registration rental deed not supporting any document to prove Mr. A is the owner of the property. Therefore, we request you to submit. These are the documents. One of the document, property tax, latest property tax paid details. Then Mr. B should ask, hey Mr. A, you are the owner of the goods, no? In your name only this property is there, na? Yes. In that case, please give me property tax Xerox copy. I want to enclose for the want of registration under GST law. Then this fellow should reply, having that proof, should reply to department. Here, step 5 comes into picture, wherein step 5 will come into picture, wherein the applicant should reply in the form GST REG 04 within 7 working days from the date of receipt of show cause notice. You see, department verified. Step 3, found certain discrepancies, issued show cause notice within 7 working days from the date of receipt of the application for the want of registration in the form GST REG 03, and the applicant who received the show cause notice should reply to department in the form GST REG 04 within 7 working days from the date of receipt of such notice, saying that yes sir, sorry sir, I am enclosing now the relevant proof of document to prove the ownership of Mr. A, which is property tax, latest paid property tax details has been enclosed, where Mr. A is the owner of the property, very clearly mentioned, and submit. Within 7 days from the date of receipt of the show cause notice, you have to reply in the form GST REG 04. Again, the matter will come to the desk of the department. Department verifying. Now, application GST REG 1 and the relevant documents satisfied, along with the Aadhaar number also mentioned. Very good, fine, everything is good. PAN number also is there. Excellent. Having this, now department officer not found any deficiencies in the application. So, application for the want of registration in all aspects is correct. If so, then step 6, where applicant undergo Aadhaar number authentication and also submit biometric information along with the photographs and other KYC know your customer documents successfully. Aadhaar authentication is made mandatory, meaning thereby when you give your Aadhaar number and to authenticate it, the system GST network portal will interlink with the Aadhaar and a OTP will be generated and sent to the registered mobile number, the registered mobile number what you have given to the Aadhaar. Then having that OTP, you submit and authenticate, yes, I am the owner of this particular Aadhaar and I am permitting department to access my biometric information, meaning thereby my eyebrow, my eye, my particular fingers, my finger impressions, what I have given to while obtaining the Aadhaar authentication, that biometric information is can be accessed by the department if the need arises. I have given the permission is the meaning of it. Such authentication of Aadhaar is made mandatory today from 1st January 2022 onwards. Without Aadhaar authentication, you cannot get your registration under the GST. Is the meaning of it. In the case where Aadhaar authentication is not given cases, what happen? Department will issue notice in the form GST REG 03 not within 7 days, within here 30 days. Step 4 comes into picture, step 6 to step 7. If Aadhaar authentication taken place, no. If not, step 7 comes into picture, where proper officer will issue show cause notice in the form GST REG03 within 30 days from the date of submission of application for registration. Hey mister, you need to authenticate the Aadhaar. There may be cases why Aadhaar not authenticated means he may not be holder of Aadhaar number. In that case, Aadhaar authentication not possible, or he yet to apply for the want of Aadhaar, or he might have been applied for the want of Aadhaar but yet to obtain the Aadhaar number. In so many circumstances, he is unable to authenticate the Aadhaar, but with the help of the PAN number, I can apply for the want of Aadhaar authentication, for the want of registration to GST law. With the help of PAN number is must. For application for the want of registration under GST, for obtaining the registration in GST, what is the relevant? PAN number relevant, followed by authentication of Aadhaar now made mandatory. Now, Aadhaar authentication not taken place, time limit to issue show cause notice not 7 working days from the date of receipt of the application, it is 30 days from the date of receipt of the application. For the want of registration, they issue the notice and you have to reply to that. Again, in that case, here you have to come to step 5. That means back to have to apply now. You have to reply to the department within 7 working days from the date of receipt of the show cause notice. You have to reply in the form GST REG04. How can you reply? What is the reply here you have to make in the case where Aadhaar authentication is not taken place? In that case, I will present here for your kind consideration, my dear friends. If Aadhaar number not assigned, look here, if an Aadhaar number is not assigned to an existing registered person, such person shall be offered alternate and viable means of identification in the prescribed manner. Such manner has been prescribed by rule number 10 capital B of the CGST rules. What are they? Here, such person shall furnish her or his Aadhaar ID slip, enrollment ID slip. That means you might have been applied for the want of Aadhaar. You are not presently having the Aadhaar authentication. For Aadhaar authentication purpose, you are not having Aadhaar number, but you apply for the want of registration with the help of the PAN number. Aadhaar authentication not taken place. In such case, department issues a show cause notice to you within 30 days from the date of the application in the form GST REG 03. You are replying within 7 working days from the receipt of that particular notice in the form GST REG 04. That time you have to be ensured that such person shall furnish his or her Aadhaar enrollment ID slip. I applied for the want of Aadhaar. I have my acknowledgement number, Aadhaar enrollment ID number I obtained. Along with that, bank passbook with photograph or voter ID card issued by the Election Commission of India, or a passport copy or driving license issued by the licensing authority. Anyone, please mute your mic and listen, my dear friends. Please mute your mic and listen, my dear friends. Now come back. Look here. A person who is not in a position to authenticate the Aadhaar because not having the Aadhaar number, he should be submit Aadhaar enrollment ID slip. For the want of Aadhaar, I apply the application. That acknowledgement, along with that, any one of the following: bank passbook, voter ID, passport or driving license should be enclosed. Such person shall undergo the authentication of Aadhaar number within a period of 30 days of the allotment of Aadhaar number. That means to say that in the meantime you can get the what we can call the GST number. In the meantime you can get the GST number, but after obtaining the Aadhaar number within 30 days you have to be authenticate it. That means again you have to open the network portal using your ID and password and confirm that your authentication, your Aadhaar number, what you obtained, you have to give that number, and that particular system going to generate a OTP to your mobile registered mobile number. The same mobile number what you given to the Aadhaar authentication is the same mobile number you what you given to PAN purpose for income tax. Now listen here, my dear friends. When you made application for the want of registration, that time you are not holding the Aadhaar number to authenticate it. In that case, no problem. When the department send the show cause notice to authenticate your Aadhaar, or you may be already registered person earlier long back when the authentication of Aadhaar was optional. In such cases, as the case may be, from 1st of January 2022 onwards, authentication of Aadhaar is made mandatory not only for the newly applying for the want of registration under GST applicants, but also who already availed the registration. That time Aadhaar authentication was not mandatory for them. They should authenticate the Aadhaar now by following the process. What is the process? Rule number 10, rule number 10 capital B said here, person shall furnish his or her Aadhaar enrollment ID slip, along with that any one of the following document: bank passbook, voter ID, passport, or driving license proof. After obtaining the Aadhaar registration, and the same should be submit in the GST network portal and authenticate it through OTP. The network portal will send to link with the Aadhaar. From the Aadhaar, you will get a particular OTP. That OTP should be submit in the network portal. Then authenticate, yes, I am so and so, permitted my biometric information to access my KYC. Know your customer information can be accessed by the GST department by linking with my Aadhaar information. Such a confirmation I have to provide through the OTP generated in the system. In that case, it is authentication of Aadhaar taken place. Now come back. If the department received reply from you in the form GST RE04, authentication of Aadhaar taken place, sir, then the department officer will verify, have you authenticated the Aadhaar? Yes, sir. Good, perfectly good. Now further proceeding. Step 8 I am referring here now. The registration shall be granted in the form GST REG06, certificate of registration it is, within 7 working days of submission of the application. What do you mean this? Sir, I submitted with the PAN number and I have been authenticated my mobile as well as ID what I given to the Department of Income Tax, same is here also, sir. No separately given mobile number and email ID under GST. Now submission of a mobile number, email ID is not warranted, because whatever I given to income tax department is whole good here also, and through that OTP generated I have been confirmed my mobile number and my email ID, sir. And further I too authenticated my Aadhaar authentication, all aspects my application form GST RAG01 is a valid application, sir. Department found no discrepancies now. In that case, from the date of making the application for the want of registration, department will grant within 7 working days certificate of registration, namely form GST RAG06. What is the date of submission of application? What is the date of submission of application? I will refer here. What is the date of submission of application for the want of registration is as follows, my dear friends. Look here. In the case where if you authenticate the Aadhaar in the GST network portal, effective date of submission of the application, namely form GST RAG01, is which date in the case of Aadhaar authentication, because from that date onwards within 7 working days department will grant certificate of registration form GST RAG06. That's why we want to know the date of submission of application. What date? Date of authentication of Aadhaar, or 15 days from the date of submission of the application in part B of form GST REG01. Form GST REG01 part A, part B. There are two parts. Part A is a basic information of applicant name, business name, thereafter the PAN number, authentication of the PAN number. That's so. Date of part B means important content information, main information. You have to be what we can call give the detail, what is the nature of business, that and this. So date of authentication of Aadhaar, or 15 days from the date of submission of the application, part B. When I submit part A as well as part B of GST or 01, then only it is submitted. Part A alone information furnished, part B not furnished, then not a submission of application for the want of registration. Therefore, part B of GST REG1 also is submitted. When part A furnished and fulfilled, then only it is permitted me to go to part B. So part B information furnished sufficient, I submit the application for the want of registration. In that case, date of submission of Aadhaar, or date of Aadhaar authentication, or 15 days from the date of submission of the part B of the GST or AG01. Among these two dates, whichever is earlier is the date of effective date of submission of my application for the want of registration. From that date onwards, within 7 working days, department will grant the certificate of registration to me. In the given case, one example is here. On 1st January, Mr. Ram applied through GST network portal form GST RAG01 for obtaining registration under the GST. Authentication of Aadhaar number is on 10th January. Find the effective date of submission of the application for registration. Now, my dear sir, here if you refer, when you apply for the want of registration, 1st January. From the date within 15 days, that means from 2nd January. So 15 days ends on 16th January. So 16th January, 15 days from the date of submission of the form GST REG01. 15 days. That means here submitted on 1st January. 15th day ends on 16th January. Count reckon from 2nd January. So 16th January, or the date of authentication of the Aadhaar. When the Aadhaar authenticated, 10th January. So 10th January or 16th January, whichever is earlier. Which is earlier? 10th January. Therefore, here effective date of submission of GST REG01 is 10th January. As simple as this. Effective date of submission. From that date, within 7 working days, certificate of registration form GST REG06 will be granted. Now, suppose, sir, Aadhaar authentication not taken place, sir. In that case, what is the date of effective date of submission of my application for the want of registration for newcomers? Effective date of submission of the application is the date of obtaining acknowledgement form GST REG02. the date on which acknowledgement has been obtained from the date 7 working days to grant the certificate of registration, and such person should undergo authentication of Aadhaar by providing the following details. First one is Aadhaar enrollment ID slip, followed by any one of the document like bank passbook, passport, driving license. These documents or voter ID, any one of the document, accompanied and submit. Thereafter, within 30 days from the date of obtaining the Aadhaar number, the same you have to authenticate under the GST network portal. Now, further, referring here, my dear friends, in my registration procedure. Now, suppose, sir, Aadhaar authentication not taken place, or when the department issued the show cause notice form GST RH03, I have not replied, or even I replied improperly replied. As a whole, department not satisfied with my application for granting certificate of registration, and sufficient time is given to me to respond, I have not responded. In that case, here step 9 comes into picture. Proper officer, if not satisfied with applicant reply, he will pass the order of rejection in form GST REG 05. Your application rejected. Your application for the want of registration rejected. That means as if you not applied for the want of registration. Sir, what is the situation, sir? Again you come by following the proper procedure, or you take the help of practicing chartered accountant or cost accountant or a GST practitioner, taking the help of them and proper procedure to follow and submit application for the want of registration. Assume a scenario, if I obtain the certificate of registration form GST RH06, then I am a registered person. My certificate of registration containing GST IN number. In that case, my GST IN containing alphanumeric 15 PAN based digits, GST number consists of dash digits, 15 digits based on the PAN number. PAN has alphanumeric 10 digits, prefix 2 digits, state code, suffix 3 digits, department will fix. As a whole, 15 digits. GSTIN of the taxpayer, which consists of PAN number of the taxpayer also. The same is mentioned in the GST REG06 certificate of registration, where the name of the applicant, the business name of the applicant, followed by GST IN number and the place of business address. Such certificate of registration, my dear friends, many of them not doing so, but I'm telling you, my dear, many of traders, many of the taxpayers are not able to aware of that, seems to be, or some of them are following also. The certificate of registration once obtained, you should be display the same in a prominent place of your business location. Suppose it is my business location, I have to be frame it, I have to display the certificate of registration on a particular wall of my business premises, where it should be visible to the public at large, whoever may going to come and have to see that it is a certificate of registration of a particular registered person. It should be prominently visible and show in the business premises. If not did so, simply after obtaining certificate of registration, you just kept in the drawer and lock it, then it is going to be cause general penalty. up to rupees 25,000 CGST, up to 25,000 SGST. Penalty may going to levy in such case. This is called violation of the procedure. Now anyhow, please come back. Sir, I obtained the certificate of registration, but I have not furnished bank details, sir, at the time of making the application. Bank details not required to be submit at the time of making the application for the want of registration. Even without the bank details, I can skip that and apply for the want of registration. Oh, I opt in the registration, but the person who not furnished bank details of the taxpayer while applying the application for the registration, no problem. After obtaining the certificate of registration within a specified period of time, I should furnish bank details in the network portal. I am presenting that concept here. Based on that, questions are going to come in the examination also. Therefore, presenting here for a kind consideration, my dear friends. Furnishing bank details. The registered person is allowed to furnish information with respect to details of bank account or any other information as may be required on the common portal in order to comply with any other provision. Soon after obtaining certificate of registration and a GST IN, goods and services identification number, but not later than 45 days of the grant of certificate of registration or the date on which the return required to furnish under section 39 of the GST Act of the due date to furnish, whichever is earlier. What do you mean this? How to understand this? I obtained the certificate of registration. Registration obtained. When obtained? Today. Let us say today. 6th October 2023. Is clear? From that date, 45 days. Counted from next day onwards. So, in the month of October, out of 31 days, 6 days are gone. Balance left for how many days? In the month of October, tell me quickly fast.
25 days.
October 27 to 31st. 20? 27, No. How?
25.
20?
5 days.
25 days. Good. 25 days. October, 25 days. Thereafter, November. How many days if we add? It becomes 45 days. 20.
20 more days.
Yes. So it is on or before 20th November 2023 or you obtained the registration. Which month you obtained? You obtained the registration on 6th October. So in that month you obtained registration. For that month, October month, you have to file the GST 3B return. You are assume you are going to file the return, say monthly you are filing. Monthly filing, simplify it. Monthly filing SSC. So for the month of October, GST 3B, I am going to file in the month of November by 20th of November. Here, unfortunately, coming is both the same date. What I will do, I will be switched to quarterly filing return. Quarterly filing return. The person is chosen the QRMP scheme. I will explain, you don't know at all. Quarterly return, monthly payment, whose aggregate turnover not exceeded 5 crores, they can choose this particular option to pay GST under quarterly basis. I mean to say, filing the return quarterly, payment of GST monthly, QRMP. So, return is filing quarterly, GST 3B filing quarterly. So, in the month of October, they got registered. Therefore, October month, November month, December, this quarter, they are going to file the return. For example, take it, due date of filing the GST 3B is, let us say, 24th of January. October, November, December for that quarter. By 24th of January 2024, they are going to file the GST 3B return under section 39. In that case, 24th January 2024. Which is earlier here? 20th November 2023 is earlier. So 45 days from the date of registration is earlier. Within which period you have to submit dash bank details. Sufficient. Not required to be submit the bank details along with the application. If you submit, goodbye. If not submitted, no problem. By submission of bank details within 45 days from the date of obtaining the certificate of registration or due date of filing the return under 39 for the tax period in which you got registered. Whichever is the date is earlier within which you have to submit. Whichever is earlier only they said. Am I right? Here they said whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. Now please come back. Here, now there is Aadhaar authentication not taken place. In that case, show cause note issued by department within 30 days from date of application for the want of submission of Aadhaar enrollment slip and that and this. In that case, physical verification of the premises of the tax of the applicant is not there. Physical verification has been eliminated now. But on pilot scheme, the government, upon the recommendation of the GST Council, to eliminate fraudsters, to eliminate the what we can call here the fake or shell companies, to bring the applicant is correctly and existing person submitted the correct information. For this purpose, on pilot basis, a particular scheme has been introduced only in the state of Gujarat. A person who has undergone authentication of Aadhaar number is identified on the common portal based on the data analysis and risk parameters. When the person authenticates the Aadhaar, because Aadhaar is nowadays the base to trace the correct culprit, if any, for the frauds or crimes what he committed. In that case, when the Aadhaar authentication taken place, system generates the history of that particular applicant to department officer. Hey, he's a risky fellow. He was escaped by not paying the income tax of so many crores, that and this, like that. Some information is pop up as a red alert. A risky assessee. In that case, department officer should alert. Hey, Mr. Officer, department officer of GST. The person who applied for the want of registration by authentication of his Aadhaar, he is a risky guy. Careful when granting the certificate of registration. Before granting certificate of registration, go to his premises. Verify whether he existed or not. What he said is correct or not. To his premises. Once you satisfy, okay, he was bad boy, now he applied for the want of registration correctly. Once you satisfied, then you grant the certificate of registration. Otherwise, what happens? If you grant the registration certificate to him, he will going to be misused the input tax credit, and he might have been going to be claimed the refund undue manner, and he is going to cause crores of rupees of loss. Tomorrow, the moment you are able to find out who is he, where is he will escape from India and he will disappear from India and appear in London. that time too difficult to recover from him the taxes. Therefore, on pilot scheme basis, only in the state of Gujarat today has been introduced the physical verification of the premises of the application, where the person authenticates the Aadhaar whose database shows risky SSC. Then be careful with him while after full thoroughly verification of his premises and his nature of business and his existence. Once you satisfied, then only you proceed to grant the certificate of registration. Otherwise, reject him. Hey, mister, you are not a fit person to obtain the certificate of registration. Go, get out from here. Department has the right to say that. So now I am referring to you, my dear friends, for kind consideration is an amended provision has been introduced now on pilot scheme basis in the state of Gujarat. If successfully functioning, then this will be going to be introduced all over India. Is a concept of the government of India upon the recommendation of the GST Council in this regard presenting. A person who has undergone authentication of Aadhaar number is identified on the common portal based on data analysis and risk parameters. Presently in the case of pilot project in the state of Gujarat for carrying out physical verification. Physical verification generally not there, only for the risky, high risky taxpayers. Only the physical verification has been taken place, is going to take place only in the state of Gujarat. It has been introduced for carrying out physical verification of the place of business, or proper officer deems it fit to carry out site verification. The notice in prescribed form seeking clarifications or information or documents from the applicant may be issued by the proper officer not later than 30 days of the submission of the application for registration. Further, if a person who applied for the want of registration along with the Aadhaar authentication, or a person who already registered now undergoing for Aadhaar authentication because of mandatory from 1st January 2022, in that case, after Aadhaar authentication, such person is also eligible for the following purposes: for filing the application for revocation of cancellation of registration, for filing the refund application in the form GST RFD 01, for refund of the IGST paid on goods exported out of India. For all these purposes, he is eligible. Aadhaar authentication taking place, then he is eligible for these particular benefits. Further, bringing here very important amendments applicable for your forthcoming exam of November or December 2023 onwards. Applicable for inter as well as final level of CA, CMA or CS as the case may be. Amendment in the rule number 8, application for registration. Referring here for kind consideration. Sub-rule number 1 of the rule number 8 says that has been amended it to do away with requirement of mentioning mobile number and email address in the application for registration. Now not required. What is given in the PAN for the purpose of income tax, your mobile number and your email ID is whole good for this particular application for the want of registration under GST. Separately, you not want to mention your mobile number as well as email ID, not required to provide. Further, rule number 8 further speaks, the permanent account number shall also be verified through OTP sent to the mobile number and email address linked to the PAN. Consequently, clause B and clause C of sub-rule number 2 of rule number 8, which required verification of mobile number and email address, have been omitted. Under GST, it is not warranted. Mobile number and email ID not required to give, but whatever you given for income tax is considered here under GST law. Further, rule number 8 sub-rule number 4 capital A has been substituted to provide that registration application by a person who has opted for authentication of Aadhaar number and is identified on the common portal based on the data analysis and risk parameters shall be followed by biometric based Aadhaar authentication in taking a photographs of the applicant where the applicant is an individual or of such individual in relation to the applicant as notified under section 25 subsection 6 capital C, where the applicant is not an individual, applicant is a corporate company and the concerned person who has been given his authentication of Aadhaar for the because X Limited, I'm whole-time director X Limited, so X Limited is not individual, but Aadhaar number for the individual who is a whole-time director, he has been authenticated his Aadhaar number along with the verification of the original copy of the documents uploaded with the application in the form GST R01 at one of the facilitation center notified by the commissioner for the purpose of this sub rule, and the application shall be deemed to be complete only after completion of the process laid down under this sub rule. Meaning thereby, if you are risky assessee noticed in the database of the network portal when it is authenticate the Aadhaar, then the department should alert, have physical verification, send the notice within 30 days from the date of receipt of the application for the want of information, document, that and this, or you have to go and physical verification made in the premises of the applicant. This particular data analysis and risk parameters is on pilot scheme has been introduced in the state of Gujarat only. That is important. A new sub rule 4 capital B of the rule number 8 has been inserted to provide that the provision of sub rule number 4 capital A of the CGST rules, rule number 8, shall not apply to the states or union territories may be notified by the government on the recommendation of GST Council. It has been notified that this provision of data analysis risk parameter basis identifying the risky tax applicants go to the premises of them and physically verify and ask the information, file the documents, verify, ensure he is deemed fit to get certificate of registration. Such a process not applicable to all the states except notified. How now notified? For which state notified? Only in the state of Gujarat notified. That is what I am referring. It has been notified that the provision of sub number 4 capital of the rule number 8 of CGST rules shall not apply in all states and union territories except the state of Gujarat, because it has been now introduced in the state of Gujarat on pilot project basis. Therefore, biometric based Aadhaar authentication and taking photograph of for completion of the registration application is applicable only in state of Gujarat, only to those applicants who has been authenticated their Aadhaar. If so, data analysis and risk parameters based on that, it has been shown a particular high alert to the department officer before granting the certificate of registration. You please take care sufficient safeguard as referred in rule number 8 sub number 4 capital A is in the state of Gujarat only implement, is now implemented on pilot project. If success, will be going to implement all over India. Is the meaning, is the concept of the, is the idea behind the government in this regard. Further referring to my dear friends, sub rule number 5 has been amended to provide that on receipt of application under sub rule number 4 capital A of the CGST rules, namely sub rule number 4 capital A of the rule number 8 of the CGST rules, also an acknowledgement shall be issued electronically to the applicant in the form GST RA02. In order to improve the registration process, biometric based Aadhaar authentication of the high risk applicants who opt for authentication of Aadhaar number has been introduced on a pilot basis in the state of Gujarat. This is an amended provision one can expect in the examination. Further, in the process of registration, amendment in the rule number 9 also taken place. Verification of the application and approval. New proviso clause AA of rule number 9 has been inserted under sub number 1 of the rule number 9 to lay down that registration shall be granted within 30 days of submission of the application to a person who has undergone Aadhaar authentication number as specified in sub number 4 capital A of rule number 8 of the CGST rules and is identified on the common portal based on the data analysis and risk parameters for carrying out physical verification of the place of business. Consequently, so and so amendments has been taken place in the subsequent provisions also. My dear friends, simple to say, in the state of Gujarat, a person who made application for want of registration, who undergone the Aadhaar authentication, his data analysis risk parameters shows higher alert. Physical verification is required, that and this. In that case, certificate of registration can be granted not within 7 days from the date of receipt of the application, but by taking 30 days time period, notice issued, and once satisfied, then grant the certificate of registration. Meaning thereby, in the given case, the law of the land here says that the what we can call here, here they said, na, the sub rule number 1 of rule number 9 under that clause AA to lay down that registration shall be granted within 30 days of submission of the application to the given person, not within 7 days, because need to have physical verification, ask the information to gather, that itself take 30 days. So 7 days time period not applicable to grant the certificate of registration for a particular person who has been undergone Aadhaar authentication successfully, but he is a risky. In that case, 7 days time period not applicable to grant the certificate of registration. 30 days time period will be takes place to grant the certificate of registration. I referred so far by presenting with so many provisions. Aadhaar authentication is mandatory for a new applicant or an applicant who already got registered without authentication of Aadhaar, because that time it was optional. Now from 1st January 2022 onwards, it is mandatory. Therefore, the registered person already opting certificate of registration, he is required to apply for the want of Aadhaar, and enrollment slip should be provided, and then thereafter within 30 days of obtaining the Aadhaar number, the same should be authenticated in the GST portal. I said Aadhaar required, Aadhaar authentication is mandatory. There may be a question in the examination. Please, they may ask, explain persons for whom Aadhaar authentication not warranted while granting certificate of registration. Well possible. Section 25, subsection 6 capital B of the CGST, read with section 25, subsection 6C of the CGST Act says that Aadhaar authentication shall not apply to the following persons one by one. Not a citizen of India means to a non-resident, Aadhaar authentication apply, because I told no the earlier session I referred to you, non-resident taxable person who has to be mandatory registered in the GST if we want to carry out the a taxable supply of goods or services in India with the passport, valid passport. In that case, he won't have any PAN number, he won't have any Aadhaar authentication. Therefore, for them, not required. Aadhaar authentication not applicable. A department or establishment of the central government, state government, for government departments, corporation, Greater Chennai Corporation, or the Bombay Municipal Corporation, local authorities, or government departments, Indian Postal Department, Indian Railways, they are not required to undergo for any other indication because they are the department of the government itself. Further, local authority, just now I said, na, the Bombay Municipal Corporation, Chennai Greater Corporation, like that, local authorities not required to have Aadhaar authentication, but they get the certificate of registration. Statutory bodies like CA Institute, CMA Institute, CS Institute, IITs, IIMs, for them are universities, Madras University, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Indira Gandhi Open University. These and other institutions has been established by passing an act in the parliament or state legislative assembly as a statutory bodies. For them, registration can obtain even without undergoing Aadhaar authentication. Aadhaar authentication not applicable to statutory bodies. Public sector undertaking, PSUs, not required to undergo for Aadhaar authentication. Further, the foreign diplomats, foreign embassies in India, for them, they are going to get unique identification number, not the GSTIN number, UIN number. For them, Aadhaar authentication not warranted. And finally, I am referring here deemed registration under the process of registration. What is deemed registration? Sir, everything in order, sir. My GST RAG01 application for the want of registration is perfect in all aspects, has been properly submitted, all information correctly given, Aadhaar authentication also be taken place. I am not a risky taxpayer, I am a genuine Indian, honest taxpayer. In that case, within 7 working days from the date of receipt of the application for the want of registration, should grant the certificate of registration. If not granted within 7 working days, in that case, such applicant can declare that as if he is deemed to be registered, which I am presenting here in a simplified manner. In such a case of registration, in such case, if registration is not granted within 7 working days of receipt of the application, which is complete in all aspects, or within 7 working days of receipt of clarification to form GST RA03 in the name of form GST R04, within 7 working days I have replied for the want of a registration when there is a query raised. In that case, the application for registration shall be deemed to have been approved. Meaning thereby, sir, there is a query raised, show cause notice issued from GST R03 within 7 working days or within 30 working days, as the case may be. I replied within 7 working days in the form GST R04. Department satisfied. From the date of receipt of the reply form GST REG04, the department should grant within 7 working days the certificate of registration to me. If they are not granted, in that case, deemed to be registered. If the proper officer fails to take any action where the applicant fails to undergo Aadhaar authentication, or proper officer deems it fit to carry out the site verification within a period of 30 days from the date of submission of the application, the application for registration shall be deemed to have been approved. I said to you, rule number 9, sub-rule number 1, clause AA, in the case of risk parameters, namely data analysis and risk parameters, Aadhaar authentication taken place cases, certificate of registration can be granted within a period of 30 days from the date of receipt of the application. If they are not granted, not physically verified the premises, in that case, deemed to be got registered. Aadhaar authentication not taken place. show cause will be issued from GST RE03 within a period of 30 days. Not issued. In that case, it will be registered. Is the meaning of it. This is what in toto a registration procedure with all amended information which is applicable for your coming exam of November 2023 or December 2023 exam onwards of CA, CMA or CS. It may be inter or final, it may be executive or a professional as the case may be.